Hey everybody. Okay, so um, this video is going to go over chapters 6, 7, and 8 for The Hate You Give. It's these three chapters in particular are pretty heavy material to read, to deal with, to cope with, to whatever you want to call it. So we're going to just kind of, I will do my best to wade through it, not too quickly, but at the same time, it's not going to be a very long video. It will be a pretty short video. Okay, so in chapter 6, if we remember, we left chapter 5 with Brenda Khalil's mom showing up at the clinic that Lisa, Star's mother, works at. Okay, I don't even know what I just said, if any of that made sense. Pregnant brain does not do well anymore. So yes, Brenda shows up. Star kind of is snarky to her, like, why do you deserve anything? You weren't a mother to him, to Khalil. And Lisa yells at her and makes her get her a plate of food. Okay, so that's where we left. And we also remember that Star said that she would talk to the police. So we get into chapter 6. Star kind of panics a little bit about meeting the police because she's now got to be in a room again with these police officers. She's wondering if 115 is going to be there. Obviously he can't. It would be a conflict of interest. I apologize. Okay, so two detectives, Gomez and Wilkes, enter the interview room when she gets there. And she has a flashback to those rules that her dad, Big Mav, had gone over with her about the police, you know, like keep your hands visible, don't make any sudden movements, only speak when spoken to, things like that. So she starts to recall those. And it's sad because now this is the second time that she's had to have this moment of flashbacks. Okay, so Gomez is the one that that essentially leads this interview process. She refers to the shooting as the incident and not as the shooting, because the incident sounds less violent, less aggressive. So Star asks if it means, like, does that mean Khalil's death, Khalil being shot? Gomez asks her, you know, why was Khalil there at the party? Star asks her, is that necessary? Like, does that even matter? Because that's not where he was shot. Okay, so then Gomez asks if Khalil had something to do with the fight at the party, because that's where she's trying to you know, trying to draw a connection, like, did it start there and it followed here and that's like what happened, or what? Okay, so Star denies that it had anything to do with the fight at the party. Neither one of them did. She described the events leading up to the police stop and then at the police stop, like what happened then. And Gomez asks her, you know, was Khalil angry? She was like, well, he was annoyed. Who wouldn't be annoyed when they get pulled over? But he wasn't angry. Gomez then suggests that Khalil hesitated when 115 forced him out of the car, which in a sense he did, because he said, what for? He didn't, you know, he was like, I don't understand. If I have a broken taillight, then like, just give me a ticket. So he did in a sense hesitate, but not in the true meaning of the word hesitate. Okay, so it's at this turning point in the interrogation that Star starts to realize that cops are not necessarily always in it for justice. And this is in this particular book. Okay, please do not twist my words. Okay, she realizes that Big Mav, her dad, had been right to warn her about police twisting words. So she continues on with her story of what happened, and she reaches the moment that 115 tells Khalil to stay put. Okay, Gomez makes a remark saying that, but he did not keep still, did he? And she's like, no, but he didn't shoot himself either. Okay, Star then kind of like, it's like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. Like, crap. Lisa, mom, tries to end the interview because if we remember, Lisa has to be there because Star is under 18. She is not 18. She can't be there alone. So Lisa wants to end it at this point because she knows that Star is just going to get herself kind of worked up, and she doesn't want that for her. Okay. So Star kind of, she says, no, I can do it. But she's crying a little bit as she gets to the shooting part, which who wouldn't? You watched your best friend get shot. So it seems only reasonable. She explains that he was not reaching for a gun. He was double checking to make sure she was okay. Okay. So now this is a big difference between the book and the movie. In the movie, it's about going for a hairbrush. Okay. And in the book, it's really just making sure that she was okay because she was definitely shook by being stopped. Yeah, she was shaken by being stopped by the cops. Okay. So Star wants to just let them know that Khalil was not the person that they think that he is or was, because they're making him out to be like a thug. And she's like, no, he was trying to check on me and you shot him. One of your people shot him. So she said, she says he was just trying to check on me and that was it. Gomez thanks her for, for talking about it and saying like, I understand how hard this must be. So thank you so much for telling us. And then she says, she switches completely and says, so did Khalil sell drugs? And now this is when Lisa, Mama Bear, is kind of like, wait a second, I don't know how that's relevant. Like that has nothing to do with the shooting. They didn't find any drugs. He was searched prior to being shot. So why would this thought even come into our head? Is it because of where we are? Is it because being in Garden Heights? Like what is leading you to this question? So Stars then realizes as Lisa is interjecting that Gomez and Wilkes, even though he's been pretty quiet, really want to twist the story to make it justified for 115 doing the shooting. Otherwise, they realize that it was, a wrongful shooting. So Star does not really give a straight answer, and it's mostly because she never got a straight answer from Khalil. She kind of, she put two and two together from his new clothes, his car, his new shoes specifically, and his new earrings, that the only way he would have been able to get those things is if he was slinging drugs. So she's not stupid, but she also, knowing that she didn't get a true answer from Khalil when she asked him, she knows that she can dummy up. She can play dumb. Gomez asked whether, was Khalil drinking at the time or, prior to the shooting. And this pisses Lisa off some more because Lisa is now feeling like her daughter is being put on trial, even though Khalil has now passed away. She's basically saying, are you charging my daughter with a crime or no? Because if not, we're leaving. Like, you have no right to ask these questions at this point. So as they're leaving, that's when Star kind of realizes, like, they really aren't looking for justice. They're just looking for it to be a justifiable shooting, which, everybody wants something to be justified in a sense, but she's like, this isn't right. Okay. So her little brain's going now that it's not right. Okay. So we roll on into chapter 7. And now this is going to be the first time that we're going to hear Khalil's name in the news, but they're also going to associate him with being a suspected drug dealer. And this is a big deal because he is now labeled. Before that, he wasn't. It was just like, a shooting of a boy in Garden Heights. Okay. But now it's the shooting of a suspected drug dealer in Garden Heights. It puts a label on him and it puts a stereotype as well around him. So as that's happening, we witness that Star is waiting for gym class to start with her two friends, Maya and Haley. Okay. We also have Chris, white boy Chris, her boyfriend, who is in gym class with her. And she starts to think if like Chris is almost too white for his own good, like he just doesn't know any better. But as you read this and as a reader, how can you help that? You can't help the way you're brought up. You can't help the color you're born as. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And that's not something that is discussed here, particularly from Star's point of view. She's wondering these things about race in particular, but not realizing that like there was Chris can't help that he's white. Okay. And she kind of wants him to be aware of the fact that he's white, as if he's not aware of it. This will come up again, by the way. Okay. They will have a discussion about it. So, sorry. While there's a group of girls flirting instead of playing the basketball game, Haley, Maya, and Star are part of the basketball team for their school, Williamson. And Haley says, like, come on, guys, let's play some boys versus girls. They agree. Chris joins in the boys group, obviously, but mostly so that he can talk to Star, because Star is being very distant ever since the shooting. Now, nobody knows that Star is connected to this shooting or that Star is the witness to the shooting. No one has any idea yet. She has not told anybody. And because she is under the age of 18, her name is not to be released. So that's kind of cool. She's very distracted, and Chris ends up scoring. So Haley decides, it's going to be smart, to say to Star, just pretend the ball is a piece of fried chicken. Oh, Haley. Oh, Haley. Okay, so now Star's pissed, but she's also like, whoa, wait, what? I'm sorry. So Haley tries to kind of backtrack a little bit and be like, we had fried chicken for lunch. Like, what the hell are you talking about? And Star is like, whoa, you are racist. Like, you wouldn't say that to this person. You wouldn't say to Maya. So I only interpret this from the movie because I also watched the movie. You wouldn't tell Maya, like, pretend it's a dog because Maya is Asian. Okay. And it's along the same lines, that stereotypical racism. Okay. So she's highly offended by this. And Haley is very upset because how dare you accuse me of being a racist? And Star is just like, I don't know how you're not seeing this connection. So there's a little bit of tension there. And while she's, having this moment, Maya decides to ask Star if she knew that boy that got shot. And she realizes with this question that her two friends, Maya and Haley, have labeled Khalil as a drug dealer. And so she ends up saying that she didn't know him. She regrets it later, but she thinks that her association with Khalil is going to make her friends assume that she's also like that, dealing drugs or seen as a thug. And she doesn't want that. So she doesn't quite know what to do. This is part of where her two separate personas, Garden Heights Star and Williamson Star, are going to start colliding. Okay. They're slowly coming together. And this is a problem for her because she does not know how to keep them separate, but she also doesn't know how to merge them in like a peaceful manner, I guess. I don't know. So then Haley keeps pressing her. Haley is very pushy. She is the controlling one of their group. Okay. She continues to question Star about like, why are you so moody? What's up with you? Is it the anniversary of Natasha's death? Because if we remember, Natasha is who passed away when they were 10. They were playing and somebody did a drive-by shooting and Natasha caught some stray bullets and died. Haley says that she understands because she gets upset too about her mom dying. But it's completely, a friend dying and a mom dying are completely different. Yes, grieving is grieving, but everybody grieves differently. Okay, so Haley then says to her, just because you're grieving the loss of a friend, if that's what this is about, doesn't give you the right to accuse me of being a racist. And Star is just like, these things are not related. These things are not related. Okay, so the coach tells her that she needs to go see the therapist. Instead of seeing the school therapist, she decides to call her Uncle Carlos and say, hey, I'm having some lady problems. Come pick me up. And he's like, okay, because what man wants to talk about that? Sorry, guys. Okay, so Uncle Carlos picks her up and she has this discussion with him about, she's not sure if she should go to Khalil's funeral. She doesn't quite know what to do. And Uncle Carlos says to her, like, listen, if you don't go, you are 100% going to regret not going. Okay. Star also asks him, as a cop, like, would you have shot Khalil? Would you have done the same thing? And he says, I don't know. I don't know. Every cop is different and every cop reacts differently. But if he did something, like, he tries to really explain to Star that they have to react in a very fast manner of what is that person reaching for? What are they doing? They have to assess the situation before the situation happens. And so Star kind of, she gets it, but because she was in the situation, she's like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean? You just said that you're not sure if you would have done the same thing. And then Star starts to really kind of let go and say to him that 115 pointed his gun at her as well. And Uncle Carlos is very upset by this information. And this is going to come back in one of the next few chapters. Okay, he apologizes, for that happening to her because it shouldn't have happened, but it did. And here we are. And then we move into chapter 8 at the funeral. Okay, so now it's Khalil's funeral. Star is brought up to the casket. She thinks that he looks like a mannequin. She starts to think about how she's the only, sorry guys. She's the only member of their little trio left between her, Natasha, and Khalil. So if we remember that they were big Harry Potter fans. Okay, and that is also going to come up quite a few times, Harry Potter, which I think makes this book a little more relevant too, just because it's something that almost all of us have read or at least seen the movies, something. So anyway, so the sermon happened, the sermon goes on. The pastor, Pastor Eldridge, talks about, that even though this is a tragedy, we should really be celebrating Khalil. It's a homecoming for him. He's going back to Jesus, back to God. And a bunch of classmates share some stories about him that Star never heard. And she starts to think, wow, I really was a shit friend. I never really was a true friend to him. I didn't know anything. And anyway, so after the funeral is over, after the sermon is over, a woman, April Ofra, who I like to call Oprah, stands up and decides to say a few words. That first off, she works for this organization, a nonprofit called Just Us for Justice. Okay. And she says that the police are not going to charge or arrest 115. And this kind of incites an uproar at the church, but also she invites everybody to join in a peaceful protest march to the police station to, obviously protest this because it's not right. He wasn't, they also announced that he was unarmed at the time of the shooting, that Khalil was unarmed. So at this point, everybody is kind of really upset. Again, I'm sorry, guys. Apparently staying up past 8 is just not okay for me. As she is finishing up her little tidbit about, let's do this peaceful march, the King Lords arrive, and that is the gang in town. Okay. That is the gang we are to assume that he was dealing drugs for. They walk up to the casket and place a gray bandana on it, which insinuates that he was in fact a King Lord. So Miss Rosalie, Khalil's grandma, throws the bandana in true grandma fashion at King, who is the King Lord. He's the top dog. His girlfriend, Aisha, if we remember, Aisha is Seven's mom. Okay. Seven is related to both Star and Kenya because Seven's mother is Aisha and Seven's father is Big Mav. Okay. So anyway, Aisha mocks Miss Rosalie for treating King the way that she is, considering he offered to pay for the entire funeral. And Miss Rosalie says, I don't want your money and you're a prostitute. You're a hoe. Get out. So Miss Rosalie gets like star of the day because like you go. You just, fantastic. Anyway, so then she, Star kind of explains the dynamic of how King, Maverick, and Aisha came to be, that there was a fight with Lisa. So Maverick hired Aisha as a prostitute with King's blessing, even though that was King's girl. Weird, right? And Seven was conceived during that particular one-night stand. But Lisa, as Maverick's wife, loves Seven as if he was her own son, and that takes a lot. I think. Okay, so that's just a little backstory that she throws in there. Star's narration is very much as if we were in her head. It does not follow a train of thought. It's kind of all over and comes back, much like how we think typically. Okay, so now everybody at the church is going to kind of whisper about the possibility of him being a King Lord. And Star starts to wonder, like, is King lying about Khalil? Is he just trying to show off? Is he, like, what's he doing? Was Khalil a King Lord or not? Okay. Star then really, like, gets in her own head too about how she didn't try to stop Khalil. She didn't really talk about it with him. And again, it comes back to her thinking that she's just not a good friend. She wasn't a true friend to him. She doesn't know what to do. And at this time, Khalil's aunt says to Star that she meant a lot to him and she means a lot to the family. And she really just starts to cry and just loses it. She cries not only for Khalil, but also for Natasha. And she says again to herself, like, I'm it. I'm all that's left. So Maverick decides to take Seven and Sakani on the peaceful protest march. And Lisa takes Star home. But right before she takes her home, April Ofra stops her and says, FYI, I'm also a lawyer and I would love to take you on as a client pro bono, because Khalil's case is going to gain a lot of attention and it's going to gain a lot of momentum. So here's my card, and when you're ready, you can call me. So that is the end of chapter 8. Okay, so I don't think there was a lot that happened. Okay, so we have the police interrogation, we have the racism scene in the gym at Williamson between the 3 girls, and then we have the funeral. So that's a lot. Okay, that's a big chunk of events that are happening in just 3 chapters. I think that's where I'll leave you for now. You guys had your MLA quiz last Friday, so good job on that. And then this upcoming Friday, you have something. It'll come to me at some point. I'm gonna look at my, I would say my handy dandy calendar. My cat's sitting on my one calendar and my other calendar is all, I can't. But anyway, that was chapters 6, 7, and 8 of The Hate You Give. So I hope you enjoyed my little rendition. If you guys have questions about it or anything about class, please don't hesitate to reach out, send me a text, send me an email, whichever, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye guys, have a good week.